Good evening. My name is Joy Armstrong. I use she, they pronouns, and I am the director and curator of the UCCS Galleries of Contemporary Art. And I am absolutely delighted to welcome you all to this evening's Visiting Artists and Critics series, also known as VACS, panel discussion featuring 5 What Kind of Brown Are You artists who have been part of our current exhibition, We Are the Sky, which is running now through October 5th. We would like to thank our VACS partners from UCCS Visual and Performing Arts and gallery sponsors the El Pomar Foundation, the Janine Sheehy Memorial Fund, the September 7th Fund founded by Ben and Raynell Kuckel, UCCS Student Government Association, and the generous members of our Curators Circle. If you didn't know, GOCA fundraises 100% of our program and exhibition costs. So this financial support from amazing folks help make it all possible. If you would like to become a donor, please don't hesitate to come up and talk to me after the talk. At this time, we do ask that you silence or power off all of your electronic devices, and please, no flash photography during the panel. Our moderator this evening is someone that you all know and love. Ashley Cornelius is the first Black Pikes Peak Region Poet Laureate. She is a nationally recognized and multi-award-winning spoken word poet, facilitator, cultural worker, and keynote speaker, as well as a licensed professional counselor who uses poetry as her modality for healing. She's no big deal. No big deal at all. Ashley published her debut poetry collection, Translations of the Soul, just a little bit earlier this year. And copies, do you have copies? Copies will be available for sale in or near the gallery following the conclusion of the panel, which is just the first half of our evening together. Ashley has opened for former U.S. Poet Laureate Joy Harjo, performed for the grandmother of Juneteenth, Opal Lee, and there's so many amazing things, I had 2 pages, and is a 2-time TEDx speaker. In addition to here at GOCA, her work has been featured at the Colorado Springs Pioneers Museum and through Art on the Streets. Ashley is the co-director of Poetry719, a Black-led poetry group lifting the voices of marginalized communities and BIPOC folks through art. And she's personally and professionally committed to using poetry as a platform to speak up and speak out for marginalized groups as a voice for those who have been historically silenced. Please join me in welcoming my friend and yours, Ashley Cornelius.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for, okay, I got a hello. Hello, everyone. Oh, so beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us for this incredible panel. Again, my name is Ashley Cornelius. My pronouns are she and her, and I have the honor of moderating this panel today. And what you're going to be able to see is the vulnerability, the spirit, the authenticity of these artists, and really get a look into a window of their art practice and who they are. But something that's really, really important is that sometimes when we go to art events, we're very quiet, very demure, very like just, ooh. That's not what we're gonna do here, okay? We're gonna be loud, we're gonna be vibrant. If someone says something, you're gonna snap, you're gonna say, ooh, you're gonna say, ah, right? We're gonna give feedback, yes. Okay, so we're gonna practice before we get started so that these artists, when they share, get all of that love and support, because it's kind of scary being up here to bare your soul, okay? So on the count of 3, we're gonna make so much noise and wild applause and adoration for our folks, okay? And there's a play next door, so let's just like give them a little razzle dazzle. Okay, 1, 2, 3, woo! Sensational, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Before we get started with this panel and learning about this incredible exhibit, I just want to name how important this exhibition is. What Kind of Brown Are You is exhibiting BIPOC artists doing their stuff unapologetically, and that is a big, big deal in Colorado Springs. I got the honor to be a part of the first installation earlier, and it was a powerful thing to have someone say, say, create something about your identity and do it big and raw in the way that you do it, and we often don't get those opportunities, right? Often we are dispossessed of ourselves, our land, our identity, and in so many ways, you all are giving that back to yourselves, to the folks who come to these galleries, and hopefully to you all as an audience. So it's going to be a powerful evening. Again, don't forget to cheer and hoot and holler, and also to step into a place of curiosity and discomfort. We are going to be talking about big topics and things that impact us as BIPOC artists. So some things may feel interesting. Whenever you get that feeling, stay curious. Stay curious about where it's coming from. There'll be an opportunity to connect with us later in our second round, but stay with us, feel that discomfort, and I hope that you learn and experience a lot of joy and pleasure as we open this space. Yay. Yeah. Look at y'all remembering, yes. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have our panelists introduce themselves. So I'd love for you all to share your name, what piece you have in this show. And then for Kevin, we're going to start with you. I'd love for you to share why you created this, and then the other panelist, why you chose to say yes to this specific opportunity. And I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you. Hi. How's everybody doing? Yeah? Okay. The show, What Kind of Brown Are You, is a brainchild between me and a friend. It's one of those questions that we ask ourselves, and we ask, within very particular niche communities, really. Hey, how you doing? You look kind of like me. What kind of brown are you? Sometimes we get that question, and it comes from somebody who doesn't look like us. Sometimes it feels a little sharp. Should I speak louder? My apologies. I was using my bedroom voice. Sorry. I don't mean to give you guys a show or anything, but I'm just saying, you're welcome. What kind of brown are you? Again, can hurt when you hear that question. It could also bring a connection too when you hear that question. What I asked these artists to do, well, these guys and a number of you here, what I asked them to do was create something in which they can present themselves as they wish to be seen. I want everybody to show up authentically, period, in life. It doesn't matter who you are, if you're an artist in the show or not. I wish for you to come talk to me with respect and honesty. That's how I wanted artists to show up as well. We get stuck within this community to create in order to pay bills instead of create for yourself. And I wanted to give my friends an opportunity to do that. So What Kind of Brown Are You? The show is that. I want my friends to be as their authentic selves regardless of the situation. Thanks.
And before we go down the line, tell us about, and for each of you afterwards, what is the piece that you have in the show, if you want to describe it, because after this panel, we'll be transitioning into the space to actually look at the gallery. So we'd love for y'all to explain in whatever way you want what piece of art is in that show.
Absolutely. The piece I created, it's called Obia Cogito. Cogito being Latin for self. Obia, a West Indian term for shaman, for witch doctor, for spellcaster of some sort, right? I wanted to create a piece in which I'm casting a spell. A lot of the things that I do, I'm casting spells. Hence the skirt. So it's got a number of different things in it. It's a lot of found object pieces. It's a lot of living things that will decay over time and show the decay for however long it lasts within the exhibit. Whoever's sticking around for the second portion of it will all go see it. It'll be there. All of our pieces will be there. It's, again, a way to share a little bit. And we'll explain more there. Yeah. I know. I don't know that it's...
Hi, everyone. My name is Jesse. I'm a designer and artist here in Colorado Springs. So The piece that is mine out there in the gallery, you might connect to me. I'll just say that it's black, and those of you who have been in there already know which piece it is.
I mean, yeah.
That piece has gotten a lot of mixed reviews, and I'm happy about that outcome. There's a lot that you don't see about my piece that when you're looking at it, it's covered. My piece is titled POC 07241988. That's my birth date, and I numbered that piece such because I feel that largely in my navigation through life as a person of color, it becomes transactional with white people, in which I become a number, and the closest number I could assign to that, of course, would be my own birth date. But my piece had a very large digital start, and then 2 or 3 transformations before the final evening before intake. I ended up creating what you'll see on the canvas.
Because you're mainly a designer, correct?
Yeah, I'm mainly a designer, but I wanted to be part of the what kind of brown are you, because the older that I grow personally, the more that I want to feel connected to the community and heritage of other, just, I guess the best way to just say it is just brown people.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's a close group of us here.
Like Kevin said, coming from another POC, what kind of brown are you is a statement of camaraderie, and growing up in rural Colorado, that's not something that I personally had throughout my lifetime. And then now approaching my middle ages, it's something that I'd like to explore.
Hendia Yamenderech, Hilupitaringashin, Kahihuren Warishaka, Inhuchar Wandakwama. That means, my name is Lupita, and I am learning one of my ancestral languages. My piece is entitled Hindekwa Tinskani, and it is based on a teaching that I received from my language instructor in my Zoom class, and it speaks about the shadow self. I don't know if we'll have time to come back to this, but really everything that I want to talk about has to do with how learning about my ancestral language and learning about the teachings from my culture are helping me to heal long-lived trauma from very early on in my life, and I'd love to share with you how I have done that. So.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jasmine Dillavou. I am a performance artist, poet, community activist, writer, instructor, small business owner, etc. My piece in the show was a evolution and experiment in navigating softness and my desire to elevate softness as a Latina when there is so much ingrained expectation for toughness and strength as a survival tool, which is something that is mandatory and necessary and can be quite beautiful, but I wanted to navigate my own personal journey through softness as a wholly beautiful thing. It's encircled in a ring of baby's breath, dried and preserved. My story and journey with softness is not an uncommon story for contemporary young Latinas navigating a world that was not built for us to be professionals, to be well paid, to be well received, to be well perceived. And it feels like such a gift to have a space like End Center for the Arts to share that kind of work. So thank you, Kevin and Joy and Ashley and the folks who are space makers for us today.
Hello? Okay, it's on. Hi, I'm Noor. I am an acrylic painter. I'm from Minneapolis, recently transplanted here. Sorry, I know you guys hate that. But my piece is titled Indigeneity. It's a self-portrait on a wood panel, and it's stylized. It's kind of inspired by field guides and botanical illustrations. It's a bust of myself surrounded by flora native to Palestine, sage and oranges and olives. And I am really excited to be in this show. Coming from Minneapolis, there's a huge Palestinian diaspora. And it's not really something that I found here, so having a community of, other brown people is amazing, and I love that we have a space to do this, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. Thank you.
Well, as you can tell, we just got the cream of the crop of artists on here, and this is only a percentage of the work that you'll see in the gallery. There is a huge lineup of folks, and what I also love about this project is that everyone takes a portrait, right, which you can see up on the screen, and that sort of is incorporated in some ways into the work or inspiration, which I think is powerful of this portrait of ourselves, but then this deep, necessary desire to be in community for revolution, for resistance, for survival, for connection. So thank you for creating a space, and each of you for adding in to this pot that makes us feel safe as people and as artists. And so my next question, which anyone can answer, is why is an exhibit specifically like this revolutionary to Colorado Springs? And you can tell us why. I think Colorado Springs is a very interesting place based on the communities and the circles that you're in. So for you all and the spaces you occupy, why is this revolutionary for our city?
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. You guys go to galleries, right? You guys go see art? Yeah? You guys like your art that you see there? Okay. Yeah, I don't know. This is very meh. I don't know. Okay, so for me, when I was really young, I loved art. I love art. I love creating art. I like making art. It's the same thing, just different words. And I like meeting artists, and I like talking about the process and the craft and what we do to move ahead, right? How do we show in a gallery? What do we do? When I was younger, I was looking at art and wanted to be an artist, but none of that art appealed to me. A lot of it was really good. It took a lot of tedious work. A lot of skilled people created this work, but nothing felt like it was for me. I didn't see myself in that work, and I didn't see anything that I wanted to see as revolutionary, as a form of expressive art, for at least myself. So again, this is a show for my friends and for the people within the community to express themselves. If we as artists can now take the art, create for ourselves, and show it in a space, show something that we want to see and not have to create something to pay bills, then I think that is revolutionary, at least for our town. Yeah. Anybody else want to?
I'd like to add that I think that we can understand this show to be, a level of revolutionary for this city, because we're in an academic setting at this moment, and I did my first undergrad and all of my primary in Colorado Springs, what you could call Colorado Springs, east of Colorado Springs. And throughout that entire experience, I personally had never been exposed to any sort of cultural teachings or any sort of media that might elicit deeper thought into who we share our space with. And when I think about how this city has evolved from when I moved here 28 years ago, people of color were in small pockets like Fountain and Widefield and near Fort Carson. And as things started to develop, then maybe a little bit more east of Powers, because you've got military transplants. But in the 18 years that even I'd been downtown, I've never really been exposed to what the ladies and gentlemen who I shared the gallery with. I've never been exposed to the sort of thought process and community that they've introduced me to. So I think that's more reason to believe that you might want to consider what you're seeing in the gallery as stepping stones to something larger.
I want to add something too. Thank you. That was absolutely. We want to see something larger. We want to see different. I am so god-awfully tired of seeing Garden of the Gods and aspen trees. I don't know. Yeah, you guys feel that too, right? The same. I mean, is that revolutionary? No, those guys are, again, lots of talent, lots of skill, but they're paying bills. They're not doing something necessarily for them. Sure, it's a meditation on self, but I wanted to put that in our hands. I wanted to take it over, and I wanted to give that to you guys. I don't know. Anything else?
I would like to add something, if I may. I think this show specifically being here in Colorado Springs is kind of a big deal, just as we live in a place with such a significant military presence. Many of us in the gallery come from places that were colonized or otherwise destabilized by the United States, and I just think that it's important that we recognize that.
Yeah, no, agreed. Absolutely. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Can I be that controversial bee really quick for just like 2 seconds?
Please.
Okay. While I think exhibiting a wall of Black and brown artists in our community is exceptional, important, fantastic, beautiful, wonderful, we are an incredible group of people. These are some of my favorite humans in the Springs. I don't think it's revolutionary until that's like common and normal. Like until the 5 whole white wall gallery spaces we have in our community are consistently showcasing Black and brown voices and treating them as equals and white. Yeah, right? Until it's not just like every once in a while we see folks of color being highlighted in our arts community as like a special occasion, it's not revolutionary. It's exciting, but we ain't there yet. Like, this is a call. This is a start.
Yeah, agreed. That's great. Thank
you. Absolutely. And so that's why we're here, right? It's very true. Often I'm very well booked in February. That's probably my highest time for Black History Month.
February?
Right? Yeah, Black History
February.
Month.
Tell me about it.
Yes, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We love a Black poet on a Black holiday. And that might, but it's very true. I think a lot of pockets of us get reached out to in specific places, or in 2020, there was a lot of guilt and shame and desire, and a lot of folks on this stage got booked and got money. And I think, Jasmine, what you're saying is so important, that like this is a step towards revolution. And I'm gonna say something that like has resonated with me from this comedian that was saying, in order for us to actually have like equity and equality, right? We've had one Black president, And we're like, great, success, woo, whatever, post-racial society. In order to have actual equity, we need 45 black male presidents in a row without skipping, with no one else. That is equity, right? Because one time isn't enough, and so I implore you all, as you think about this, is to continue to visit the gallery, is to book these artists, is to bring them in their shows, because this is the start of revolution, but it requires you all to add in, to like have a stake in the game to support these artists so that we can build this revolution. Yeah, woo, woo! Yes! I'm gonna wrap 2 questions into one just for time, and I'm gonna give a little context because everyone may not know this. So there's this idea of sort of the white gaze, and this has been talked about within artist communities for a really long time. There's lots of movies about it where brown artists very specifically sometimes will get more money, more notoriety, more fame by sort of pandering to whiteness and white gaze wanting trauma and tell me about slavery and tell me about all of these things. And so similar to like a male gaze, quote unquote, of like dressing, acting, supporting for this sort of perspective, the same can be said for the white gaze. And often we get rewarded as artists when we do it. When white audiences come in and are like, wow, this is so amazing. Look at this, you've survived so much. And so for you all as artists, how do you show up authentically as a BIPOC artist and navigating the white gaze? How do those things interact? And how have you navigated it in this specific piece?
I have something to say about that. So I think that in the beginning of my art career, when I was first showing, I was very concerned about the things that I wanted to paint. And I would look around at the art community and be worried about how I was going to be perceived. And I think maybe at the beginning I really felt like it was because I didn't go to school and I didn't know certain rules and things. But as I matured and started to really feel like I have a lot more to express than the things that I'm showing, and I started to feel almost fetishized sometimes, with some of the work that I was doing. People expected a certain type of work from me. I really started to dig into my own life and my relationships with my family, my children, and portray those things. And I remember at a show called Oremos over at SPQR, I had one man ask me, why do you paint Indian people? And it was a painting of my children and my mother. and so I feel like I really struggled with that voice of being able to show up as my authentic self, even when I am portraying my own family. I'm being questioned about my motives, like, why are you painting these people? Well, these people, I gave birth to them, So, it's right here in my house. This is what I paint. But I, in this painting that is in the show, with trying to reconnect to my culture, and not in a way, the colonizer way, the way through the church, all the things, the art that I saw in churches that didn't portray me, that didn't speak to me, and, even a little bit trying to reconnect to my, my Black heritage, which I haven't been able to do very much of other than meeting up with my family and finding them and learning people's names. But there's so much for me to learn, and this is what I will portray, because this is what inspires me daily. This is how I thrive and how I am able to give back to my community. And in many ways, I think the work that I'm doing now is a way of doctoring my community, helping to heal as I heal myself through being authentic. So.
I heard a scoff in the audience when she was like, hey, why are you painting Indian people? Does that make you guys uncomfortable? Does it make it, it's weird, right? It pisses you off. It pisses me off. That was a brown person who said that, by the way. It pisses him off. That's my point. It's surprising to some of you to like hear that, right? And that is an everyday thing. We had a meeting earlier today. This guy drove up in the parking lot and was like, hey, and I was like, what are you doing? He's like, are you Carlos? And I know my face might look it, but I'm not Hispanic. I'm very that's it. Right. It's like a weird inside joke, right? It's a weird inside joke. This exhibit, there's 13 artists, 13 of us. One guy, he's got a piece in the Smithsonian. I mean, a couple of us have toured around for a while for our art. Like, some of us are alumni. That is our reality, you know? It's such a, it hurts, man. Like, that's why it has to be, I don't know, that's why it has to be a show brought to somebody and, hey, let's do the thing. And even then, it's like, one, we're pandering to ourselves, and two, we're pandering to everybody else. The whole white gaze thing, I mean, I call the show, What Kind of Brown Are You? You know what I mean? It's a very real thing. And it's deeper than just being like, well, hey. There's language lost. There's people and generations of stories that we don't have anymore. There's connections that we could have had with relatives and that we had to like let go, right? I wasn't called a color until someone wanted to differentiate. You know what I mean? Sorry.
Yeah.
I would really like to put in a few words about the white gaze. And the reason that I want to do that is because in my career in hanging in galleries, which is now 20 years, if you want to sell a piece, you're going to make it for the white gaze. The piece that I made had, like I said earlier, had so many transformations, and it's a real task to reflect upon yourself, no matter what level of self-awareness you may have, and then create a piece that reflects how you've navigated life in the skin that you were given. And ultimately, I ended up masking my piece, which I thought that I had some sort of profound or deeper connection to, until I got so many mixed reviews about my piece in which I felt like I had created a caricature of myself. And I really had to reflect on what I did, and that the piece has been sitting in the gallery now for a couple months, and I've really had to battle with how I've presented myself, because I ultimately did mask it, and I felt that maybe this represents how I've masked myself in my art career, catering to that male gaze. And ultimately, I'll be blunt, I overpriced that piece of garbage and sold it to a privileged middle-aged white man.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Thank you.
And that there's a symbiotic relationship with people of color and that white gaze. Because you're going to find those who want a virtue signal, and I will take advantage of them every time. That's just it.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Something that I appreciate, one, and also want to name to you all, which I didn't do earlier, is that we are getting to hear the real stuff, right? Like the actual things that happen. And you all are sacred observers. So you are witnessing and holding and honoring, and also just naming this is a privilege, right? For us to be able to share what that looks like, and when we do these things and all of this. So just naming that relationship we're having right now as an audience and as an artist of this is big stuff, and also it might feel big here, and what an incredible opportunity to get to pull the curtain behind and to see all of the inner workings of this. Before I move on to the next question, I wanted to add, what is interesting when I was in the first show is when people say, what kind of brown are you? Like, I literally have no idea. Like, I don't even get to answer that question because I am a person who comes from folks who were enslaved. So I have literally no idea what kind of brown I am. I don't know a mother language. I don't know where I'm from. And people want that. And we talk about the white gaze. People want me to be from Africa. They want me to know a specific thing and all this stuff. And I have no idea as a result of white supremacy and enslavement. Like, literally, the people asking me what kind of brown are you are the communities who hold it in museums, in texts that have been redacted, in spaces that I will never get to see. And so when I think about this gallery and the spaces that you're doing, it's like we are also creating and connecting to that history and figuring out who we are. But that question, in terms of the white gaze, is something that we're constantly sort of like battling. And thank you for saying that's what's gonna sell, right? Like, honestly, if I write a poem about blackness and slavery and racism, ooh, people love it. If I write a poem about a flower, they're like, I don't know. Is the flower oppressed? Is it not getting water? Is the soil rough? I'm like, no, it's just a flower. I just like sunflowers. But if I write about a flower as a metaphor for racism, then people listen. And so also, I love the authenticity of like, and sometimes the authenticity and the white gaze overlap. And sometimes I do want to write about racism and enslavement for me and also know that that is something that people want. And that is a hard place and intersection for folks. So I am just so grateful and just want to check in before we move on to the next question if anyone else wanted to share about their authenticity as an artist or the white gaze. Bam, 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 let's go. Okay.
Wait, hold on. Can I pause real quick?
Yes.
Do you guys feel uncomfortable? No? You guys are here?
I literally don't believe you.
Well,
It's okay.
No, I mean, I only...
Yeah, thank you, man. Yes.
You feel sad. Yeah. No, and I don't apologize for that. This is a very uncomfortable thing to talk about because this is our fucking reality. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. Love to see it. Also, what I love that's not happening up here is nobody's code switching. We're just being authentically who we are, and sometimes we even have to code switch to get into spaces like this. Oh yes, let me tell you about code switching. Yeah. Yes, so code switching is a term in which a person will, and I'm going to talk largely about language, someone's going to shift their language to shift in an environment in order to be perceived in a specific way. So how I talk with my friends, and I typically use AAVE, which is African American Vernacular English, which is what you all think is slang. Any word you've ever heard that is slang is just black people. Just keep that in your hearts. All slang is just AAVE. So when I'm around my folks, I'm gonna talk very differently than if I'm in a boardroom, than if I have to sell this art piece. So I'm constantly code switching, right? A specific code that will get you in the door. Right now, I sound like a cute little professional, right? Because I'm in front of you all. I can change that up very quickly, and I might do that when I'm like just hanging out with folks. But in a lot of ways, it is a survival mechanism largely for Black and brown folks to be able to exist in various locations and then honestly be treated as a human, right? I have to literally use my language, how I dress, how I act as currency to get into a door in a space. And I have to sort of shift a lot about me in order to do that and then shift in other places, which is emotionally exhausting. Yeah.
Can I piggyback? I want to piggyback. To piggyback off of that statement and a little bit of what Jesse was saying too, we create these pieces, right? And sometimes we do code switch. That's just a thing. I wanted to wear Tim's tonight, actually. I should have worn them.
Hey, okay.
We are selling ourselves every single day, all day. It doesn't matter who we're talking to sometimes. We're selling ourselves to our friends, to our family. We're selling ourselves to whoever's listening to us, really, you know? Sometimes it hurts, but it very much is exhausting, yeah. It's very exhausting.
Thank you for that question.
Yes.
And also, guess what happens? You can talk, you can say things, and we will respond and care.
And that was great. She wanted clarification. That's perfect. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
If anybody else has questions, please jump in with that, okay?
And so we're gonna keep moving. We got just a few more questions, and then again, we are going to transition. We'll have a little bit of a break, but then we'll transition to the gallery for more performances and a little bit more time to interact with the artists. And we'll also see some new artists coming in there, so please continue to stick around. But this next question has a lot of relevance, I think, to what you were saying, Lupita, and I'll share a little bit about myself as well, is not knowing my culture or heritage. The sky has been like my ancestral divinity of like, my ancestors look at the star. Okay. Yeah, Katie. We have a piece in the gallery about this very thing. That when we are looking at the sky, we are not learning about our legacy, we are remembering it. And that is probably the portal to my ancestors. I get so much wisdom and inspiration, and a lot of my poetry revolves around the universe and stars and the sky. And so for you all, I'd love to hear how your art practice in general, or the piece that you have in the show, how has that connected to your culture, your ancestry, your family? How has all of that sort of manifested in your work?
Okay. So my piece that is in the show deals with the Hindekwa. And I'll tell you guys really quick about what I learned about the Hindekwa from my instructor. So the Hindekwa is your shadow self. It is also like a light being. It is the other part of you that can experience travel to other places. Probably active while we're sleeping. So these are things that maybe if I had learned my language through a book, I wouldn't receive this type of teaching, but because this teacher is still connected to his indigenous community in Mexico, he has the customs and the teachings that are passed down orally by elders. Through stories, through songs, through customs. And it's such a privilege to be able to receive that knowledge, like here at my house, at a desk, listening to this teacher on my iPad. I think about how amazing and miraculous and how lucky I am to be able to get this kind of information. So for myself, growing up in a very Catholic Mexican household and being biracial or mixed raced, it was very painful for me. Even though my family was accepting of me, I always saw the difference in myself and them. Even though I had cousins as dark as me, I was the first child that was born in the United States. Everybody else was born in Michoacan. And it really, I felt like an outsider always. And then being in church and looking at the art that's in a church, there was never anything that represented me, except for like one male saint that was black. And, and so I think that through this teaching about the Hindekwa, I know that I was able to start healing some of my negative self-talk. I have grown up with a very cruel voice in my head that says the most painfully horrible things you can imagine to me over the smallest mistakes that I make. It's been a constant stream of self-hatred that is alive inside of my head. And when our teacher told us about the Hindekwa, I had already been exploring the inner child through one of my other shows that I did with Audrey Gray, where we, did a show about childhood, and I had made altars to the inner child and considered what words, what messages would I give to my inner child, what types of little gifts would I leave to my inner child on these little altars. I considered the Hindekwa as this special being that is also me. And when I start to think of myself as more than just myself, I am more considerate. I would not want to say these things to my Hindekwa. I would not want to say these things to my inner child. And as I started learning about, and looking at at myself in this way of many parts of myself, and not just the me that I see in the mirror, but the me that is also this shadow being, that is also a being of light, that is also, when you experience deja vu, it's believed that the Hindekwa has preceded you to that location. And all of these different parts of myself, when I can honor them, I can learn to honor myself as I see myself in the mirror. I can learn to honor who I am entirely. And I've been able to silence those awful, there's no way. I'm not going to let you talk to my Hindekwa this way, to my inner child this way. So that piece to me is very special. It's a connection to myself and to my ancestry through these teachings of language. And in language, I'm finding that so many things are lost. And I'll just say one thing about this one word, and I can't even remember the word, but the word for when somebody dies is, it's also the same as when we sow things into the ground. So, do we have this meaning in English, death? Does it mean the same? No, it doesn't. It's different in my culture. It's different in my language, in one of my languages, because I have the honor of so many different cultures in my lineage. And, I'm really just excited to be touching on one little part of it. So.
Yes. Yes. Question.
You can ask the question. We may not answer it in this space, but please ask.
When your teacher is teaching you yourselves, your inner self, does it all of a sudden say, yes? I mean, do you feel it?
You do feel it, and you feel it more and more as you start to make connections with something that makes sense other than the societal parameters that we have been brought up in, here in the United States, and with the rigidity of, the self as what your value is through your production and through what you can, your value monetarily. It is very different, and it activates something within me.
Thank you. We have one more question, and also if there's questions bubbling up inside you, please continue with us to the gallery space.
Yes.
There'll be more opportunities to connect and ask and share. I just have a timetable, so thank you for the grace with that. So I'm going to ask a big question, and I'm also going to teach you all something. Are you ready to learn? Yes. Sensational. We're going to talk about the tenets of white supremacy. Okay. Has anyone ever heard of the tenets of white supremacy? Okay, a few folks. I just learned this. And so I'm going to tell you these tenets as a precursor for this. So these are the things that white supremacy reinforces and that all of us internalize in some ways. Perfectionism, a sense of urgency, defensiveness and or denial, quantity over quality, worship of the written word, the belief in one right way, paternalism, either or binary thinking, power hoarding, fear of open conflict, individualism, progress defined as more, the right to profit, objectivity, and the right to comfort. So these are the tenets of white supremacy, and what it does is trains us to internalize these things that do not serve us, right? I have always been a perfectionist, and I just thought there was something wrong with me, and then I learned it is actually white supremacy internalized. I have this huge sense of urgency that I have to get things done, that there's one right way, and once I understood these white supremacy tenets that have been reinforced in us and sort of built our culture, I was able to start to dismantle them. And so for you all in this work, how do you believe that your piece, either in the show or the work that you're doing, is dismantling white supremacy? Or if you want to pinpoint one of these as a place where you're like, actually, what I do is the opposite of perfectionism, or this piece absolutely just runs through urgency. What does that look like for y'all's individual pieces?
Hello. Like I said before, my piece in the gallery is inspired by botanical illustrations featuring plants indigenous to Palestine. And I've kind of integrated myself into it. I am just another plant or fruit of the land. And this kind of thinking runs directly contrary to white supremacy, because we think about land as something to conquer, not something to cherish or be a steward of. And this is something that the occupation is directly taken from the Palestinian people by setting olive groves ablaze, or bulldozing farmland, or placing restrictions on where people in Gaza can fish, or even criminalizing foraging for some of the native plants that are featured in my painting. And I just think that it's important that we recognize that while the dominant culture may think of the people and the land as two separate things, we are not. And the cultures that came before us, most of them, thought about people as something that belonged to the earth rather than the earth belonging to us. And I just think that that's a beautiful idea, and I really wanted to capture that.
My piece is not perfect, and I chose for it to not be perfect. But also, simply existing within that space is a fight against white supremacy. We're in a land, in a society that started from a lot of those things, right? Me creating, me just being here and saying these things, creating a very uncomfortable room and making people sad. That's me fighting white supremacy. Because if our reality, 13 of us at least on that wall, makes you sad or uncomfortable, then if that upsets you, this is what we're dealing with, right? So those tenets are very much inside of us. Lupita mentioned that there's, that internal voice that we have, that she has, that we all have those things. And it's all systemic in some way. And me saying it's systemic and then someone fighting against saying it's not systemic, it's like our perspectives do mean something, And that's why we're sharing them. So thank you all the artists for being here and for fighting white supremacy and systemic racism in that way. Us being up on that wall is our way of fighting.
That is perfectly said, because the idea and the language around fighting white supremacy seems like this huge task, like this insane statement that's so unreachable and unrealistic. But it is the reality of every single artist of color in our community, and I will tell you that is the truth. There are endless boundaries that we have to work through in order to get to walls, to get into spaces where we can speak, where we can navigate the art world in a really authentic and vulnerable way that isn't pandering to white audiences and collectors, that is just merely getting in the doorway, getting to the table, getting a seat, and then even if you get that far, getting to share your authentic true self without feeling like you need to encase some version of yourself to ensure you are invited back, respected, listened to, and if you do not think that is true, you can talk to any single one of us and we will give you a list of all the doorways that we have had to navigate our way through that have been tough as hell. Truly. And I don't know how to keep saying this to make people believe this. It is not easy. It is not because it is Latin Hispanic month so that we're going to get an opportunity to show one Dia de los Muertos show, which, by the way, there are other Hispanic and Latinx cultures out there, y'all. It's these little entry points. There's little entry points wow, we should be so grateful, but there are endless ropes and red tape and doorways that we are never going to get through, it feels like most of the time. I promise you.
Is it weird? Do you guys feel like we're convincing people of this?
I feel like I have to convince folks of it all the time.
Right.
It's not the first time I've heard, it just feels like only, it would be easier if I was BIPOC or queer to get into this space. Right. It really feels like they only want they only want black artists on this panel. I think because I'm a white cis woman, I probably can't get into it, which is, in fact, not true. I promise you with my whole heart. I've been in this arts community for a long time. I have done the work. I've volunteered the hours. I've shown up time and time again, and I'm not going to stop showing up time and time again, but I will continue to do it so I can prove to you that it is labor. It is not some easy access point. It is not some woke culture thing. There will always be boundaries that make it much harder for us to get into spaces that half of you, and I promise you that.
And yes. And the thing I want to add to that is all of that, and those boundaries are invisible. We have no idea what they are because no one is telling us. No one is telling them, and if I show up with this hair, I'm not going to get in the door anymore because they wanted me to look a certain way. No one's going to say, no, we don't want this because we can only have this percentage. And so we're doing all of that without any of our senses, without any of our resources and any help. So then we're sort of trying to navigate and figure out, why are we not getting it? What's happening? And so many obstacles that no one will ever tell us are there so that we can prepare. And so I sort of turn to you all as the audience, and some of you may be patrons, audience members, some of you may be funders, but if you have power in any way, redistribute that power to these artists. Tell them what they need to do. Book them for shows. Buy their pieces. Do this work because it has to be a bi-directional relationship. And we are working so hard. We are so tired. So if you are just a little bit less tired, we can engage and collaborate. And when we talk about white supremacy, it's so big. And Ibram X. Kendi, who wrote How to Be an Anti-Racist, names that the only difference between racism and anti-racism is inaction. That's it. It's all the same thing except inaction, because the system and racism and transphobia and homophobia and genocide, all of those things just operate without us. So we're going to do an experiment. Everyone just do nothing for 3 seconds. All right, start. Racism still exists. Homophobia still exists. Genocides are still being funded. All of that is still existing, and we did nothing. No one was I don't know what your thoughts were, but I don't think anyone was actively racist or harmful in that moment, and yet the system turns, right? And so it is our responsibility to act. And that act could be taking a nap and resisting urgency. That act could be paying a lot of money for one of these artists, even more than what is on the ticket, to disrupt that idea. So each minute, second, hour as we leave here, we have the ability to act. And acting does not have to be this huge thing. It can be supporting one of these artists. It could be giving a donation to Goka. It could be showing up for an event, but we have to act against a system that is, honestly, here's the last thing I'll say. The founding fathers and white people, they really ate it up with racism and oppression. They did that, because it's still going. They really built a bomb system. I'm not gonna hold y'all. It is incredible because it works without us doing anything. It is still oppressing people. It is still harming people. And that was from so long ago. And they built it strong. The system is not broken. It is working perfectly as they designed it. So it is not our job to fix it. It is our job to dismantle it, and we have to do that with action. We have to do something different. I'm getting hot.
Getting heated?
So again, that invitation is open, that there are so many ways that we can fight white supremacy. We are doing it literally by existing and breathing and sleeping and walking and driving our cars. The way you can do it is supporting these artists, engaging with them, booking them, supporting them. And you're also doing it right now. Being in this audience and listening is part of dismantling it. Y'all, I got a little passionate. But we are just a little bit over time, and so I just want to open it up one last thing. If there's any final closing thoughts about what kind of brown are you, or anything you want to leave the audience with.
Free Palestine.
if you can work with a person of color, if you can support a person of color, make that choice and do so.
I just want to say thank you guys for coming here and showing up. This is very big of you, and I appreciate that. And I'm sure all of the other artists here also appreciate that. You guys taking your time, because time is expensive, for being here. So I think you guys should applaud yourself, honestly. Yeah, who was that? Do that.
So again, thank you so much for being sacred observers to What Kind of Brown Are You and this panel discussion. Thank all of you for the art that you have contributed, not only here, but again, across Colorado Springs and Manitou Springs and Denver and so many galleries, spaces, and being the cultural workers that you are. Again, there are some cool things coming up on October 5th. What Kind of Brown Are You is collaborating with CC Mobile Arts CC Mobile, yeah, right there. Okay, are collaborating to support a closing, so inviting folks to do like mini portraits and art experiences. So please come out October 5th, partner with CC Mobile Arts, who, if you do not know who they are, an incredible, incredible space which transformed a bus into a mobile arts community venue, space, workshop, and has been really touching the lives of our community for the past 3 years, going on 4 years. And so what an honor to have another experience with y'all. And we are going to transition in just a moment. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be meeting in the gallery space at 7:30. And we're going to have some poetry, spoken word, some like conversation performances, as well as an opportunity for you to engage with these artists. These artists may be out and about. Here's a little tip. When you want to talk to an artist about something, ask them if you can ask stuff about their work. Get some consent. Sometimes people are like, tell me about your indigeneity. Like, people get a little nervous. So what I encourage you to do is introduce yourself, talk to them, ask if you can ask a question, but sort of engage in that dialogue. Sometimes we shift back into that, like, I deserve to know information about who you are and the vulnerability. So just engage in that consent, talk with these artists, and then we'll see you in the gallery space at 7:30. And I've been Ashley Cornelius, your moderator. Thank you all so
Ashley.
much. All right, thank you for caring about your accessibility and grabbing a seat when you needed it. That is dismantling white supremacy. Yeah. It's all things, it's the small wins. So thank you again so much for joining us for this performance series for What Kind of Brown Are You? Again, my name is Ashley Cornelius. My pronouns are she and her, and I am the Pikes Peak Region Poet Laureate, which basically means I am the president of poetry. So I was elected to this, everyone laughs at that. Or let's test it out. I'm the host. All right, there's 3 people. Fantastic. Just, seeing. But I was elected into this position to uplift poetry in this region. And I'm also the co-director of Poetry719. So when I say Poetry719, you say we do stuff. That's our callback. So we're going to try. Poetry719. We do stuff. Yes, we are a Black-led poetry group with a co-director, Christopher Beasley. I don't know. Whoop. Just kidding. They're outside. But me and Christopher Beasley and Philip J. Curtis run Poetry719, Black-led poetry group. Woo! With the goal to uplift the voices of marginalized communities and folks of color. We've been operating for 7 years here in Colorado Springs, doing things like Black Voices Matter, Queer BIPOC open mics, Disability open mic, which will happen here at UCCS in October. But really what we wanted to do is that we were going to open mics and shows, and people were telling our stories, right? The story of what it feels like to be Black, but no one was Black. People were just sharing the experiences of us. And then when I would go to open mics, I'm like, they're not ready for all the Black stuff I gotta say. And so then I wouldn't say it. And so we really created Poetry719 as a gap, right, for your identity to be in the title of the event so you know that you are welcome, where you can be authentic and share your space. So we are so happy to partner with What Kind of Brown Are You to uplift these incredible artists. And you are going to be hearing performances. People are going to be sharing their hearts again. And I told you all before, but we got to give all of our energy to the folks who are on the microphone. This is a very, very difficult thing to do. Does anyone know what the number one fear of an American is? Yes. What is number two? Death. Death is number two. We are more afraid of this than the existential dread of death and what happens. So this is really hard to do. So again, when folks get up here, please cheer and hoot and holler. And especially as folks are reading, it's great to take it in, but also if the spirit moves you, you can snap, you can clap, you can woo, you can give that feedback. And again, we'll have an opportunity at the end for a little bit more questions and connections. So before we get started with the performances, I want to bring up Kevin to talk a little bit more about this incredible exhibition. So please give a round of applause to Kevin!
Hi. Thank you for being here. That's the one thing I wanted to say is thank you guys for being here. This is important to us. Our pieces are very important to us. We Are the Sky is very important to us. It's all about community and bringing Colorado Springs together. We are just a small niche of that community, okay? We all have words to say. Sometimes we forget to say those words, especially when we're on stage and we have a panel, and sometimes we get flustered and angry. It's okay. Again, thank you again for being here. We don't speak for all people of color, but we are just people of color, yeah? All right, so let's welcome our performers and be here to listen and show respect, yeah? Thank you guys.
And also, it feels very obvious, but just in case, this is what, Dr. Brown, are you? In case no one has been here, this is the wall. So please continue to engage, come back. This is a really incredible opportunity and space. And so I am going to share some poetry with you all, and I'm going to be your tester, okay? Because I'm pretty okay. You can't hurt my feelings. If you don't cheer for me a lot, I will be okay. I'll cry about it later in my house. I'll write a poem about all of you. So as I'm performing, this is a test round. Feel free to see what it feels like to maybe be like a woo or yeah or a snap. So feel free to just experiment with how your body reacts to poetry here, and then get that juices going for all of our incredible folks who are coming up to the stage. So I'm going to start with this piece called Spirit Animal in my book, Translations from the Soul. Yeah! I just published this book. It is about 8 years of poetry. She's thick. She's like 250 pages. So she is $30, but thickness is quality. So if you couldn't tell. But I also have books available for sale. So afterwards, if you're interested, please come up to me. I'd love to share this work with you. So this piece is titled Spirit Animal, and it's my journey as a Black woman. People love to say that Black women are spirit animals. I have a Black woman trapped inside of me, and so much about demoralizing Blackness and Black women. And I've heard it so many times in Colorado Springs. So I wrote this piece, Spirit Animal. Black women are not spirit animals. I am not your spirit animal. We are not spirits, though you treat us like ghosts in this world. Murder us, then wonder why you're haunted. Why the wind blows like moans between the trees you hung us on. We are not animals, though you are in the business of caging and killing us for sport. There is not a Black woman trapped inside of you. You are not a magician, pretending Black girl magic is as easy as pulling our generational trauma out of a hat. Watching Black men die in movies is not the same as watching our Black sons get slaughtered in the backyard. Your white tears will never amount to the oceans our ancestors died in, decide to suicide in, choose to escape being assistant to sawing their families in half. You can't fool us with your sleight of hand and make our history disappear. You love to say, Black women are spirit animals. And aren't animals synonymous with savage and uncivilized? Animals aren't treated well in your care. You might attempt to skin and wear my pelt because you want to feel down, want to feel woke. You don't know what it means to be a Black woman and fight through adversity. survive for the babies born into a world actively trying to kill them. How we teach children that Skittles and Arizona tea and toy guns are too much like weapons to hold. Being sexualized for a big butt and wide hips. Never forgetting the freak shows they put us in. How much they paid to see these features behind bars. How much we were sold to the highest bidder. Being a Black woman means my hips have carried generations. My back is strong against your ignorance. It means we are powerful. Fighting every day to walk through a world made difficult for us. Working twice as hard to get half of what they got without trying. We Black women are resilient, smell like shea butter and coconut oil, can push through systems built to destroy us, can transform our hair with fingers and grease. We Black women, we make change. We march for change until our feet bleed. We bend knees in prayers and protest. We take up space, and we refuse to be your spirit animal. So you can try to relate to the spirits that haunt you when the wind blows. Thank y'all. What a great test run. Y'all did good. I heard some oohs, I heard some yes. I love it. Y'all are doing great. All right, I'm going to read this last poem, and then we're going to transition to the incredible artist of What Kind of Brown Are You? So I sort of alluded to this poem on stage. This is called The System Isn't Broken, because that is a lie that they want us to believe. The system is broken. The corruption of the system is deep and historical. And it is our job as the activists to repair, to fix, to realign the system, the justice system, the school system, the prison system, the healthcare system, the economic system. The system is not broken. It is not letting the innocent fall through cracks and be condemned to darkness, or that justice and equality have been eroded. The system is working perfectly. It is protecting and serving the great-great-great-grandchildren of our founding fathers. It is oppressing and suppressing voices written in as inferior to our Constitution. In fact, by the time I finish this poem, a rapist has picked up 20 pieces of trash as their punishment. By the end of the sentence, the ink will have dried on the wrongful conviction of an innocent Black man. See, the system never liked Black people, couldn't find ways to openly hunt us, so they wove it into the fabric of our system, made it legal to gun down innocent Black men, created laws to protect the killers, gave killers badges to protect the laws. The system was designed so that Cynthia Brown was sentenced and served 15 years for killing a grown man who hired her, a young child, for sex. Our system knows that men whose name don't get to be a part of this poem can rape a woman unconscious behind a dumpster and get off. The system was constructed so Black and brown bodies selling marijuana are in prison for most of their life, while white bud tenders and dispensary owners gentrify and profit in their absence. The system created the panic defense, making a case in court that a person's sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression grants permission for someone to beat, torture, or kill them with legal cause. Our system is a well-oiled machine when there are more prison cells than schools. When neighborhoods for Black folks are designed to block resources, the fact that there is a 16-year life expectancy gap between the southeast of Colorado Springs and the north of this city means the system is working. Now, if you are shocked by these atrocities, then you are forgetting the definition. A system is a set of things working together as parts of a mechanism or an interconnected network, an organized scheme or method to support a driving force. We were never supposed to learn how to drive. The system couldn't fathom that Black people would be in political power, never anticipated there'd be trans CEOs, didn't plan for women to become doctors and surgeons. We, every single person in this room, are their worst nightmare. We are the children of the brujas, the enslaved, the immigrants, and the untouchables that they couldn't kill. We are surpassing and fucking up their expectations of perceived limits. Our job is to break the system, to deconstruct foundations of oppressive cogs and wheels designed to harm us. This poem is a sledgehammer. Your engagement is a wrecking ball. Our presence and what kind of brown are you is a demolition of this system. Yeah. Thank you all so much. Thanks for getting a little spicy with me. And you did a great job. So keep all of that energy, the ums, the ahs, the yes, woo, for the folks who are coming up next. So I have the pleasure of introducing our first artist on the mic. Please give all of your love and support. And here's the thing. We like support someone all the way up to the mic. So as long as they walk, we clap, okay? So don't get loose. Don't get loose on me. The entire way that this person is coming up, clap for them. All right, please give it up for Sofia.
Goodness, well, what a tough act to follow. Ashley is absolutely brilliant, and I'm just so grateful to be here tonight. So thank you all for being here and for supporting our work. This is my piece right here, which you probably could tell. It's called To Have and to Hold, and I'm just going to read my little mission statement poem that I wrote, just kind of explaining my biracial identity and some kind of feelings that go along with that. So here it goes. I am follicles carried in the womb of a frightened little girl, fleeing the pogroms. I am in the murky water, the golden eagle clutching the writhing snakes, premonitions of a place to call home, to build an empire. I am the Spanish missionary set out to save the soulless savage. I am the survivor, the builder, and the savior. My lips have forgotten how to utter the words of my grandmother's song. I speak no Spanish, no Yiddish, no know-it-all, but I am not mute. I am grieving. I am grateful. I am giddy and I am gleeful. I am tear-stained pillows. I am bursting with song. I am distracted, dreaming, distraught, disturbed. I am the drought, the deluge, the dew. I am seizing and I am seized. I am frenzied, fragile, formidable. I am boundless and yet I am bound. I am finite. I am infinite. I am fine. I am fine. I am the stuff of stars. I am the microplastic swimming in my veins. I am.
Another round of applause for Sofia. I just loved everything all at once, everywhere, constantly, and I'm like, isn't that what it is to be a human and to be an artist and to reckon with all of those things all at once? So that was such a beautiful way to encapsulate so much of who you are. And also just an inspiration of our artist statements get to be poetry, get to be this beautiful language and offering, and you did exactly that. So we're going to do something special for a little feedback. So again, you all are sacred observers. So after our artist share, I'm just going to call on 3 people to give me a word about what they experienced from our last artist. So if you want to raise your hand, give us a word about what we felt from Sofia's performance. Yes, right here. Relatable, yes. Empowerment, yes. Determination, oh yes. Snapped up for that. Because an open mic, if y'all don't know, it is a bidirectional relationship, and so I love when we get to see what each artist inspires. So thank you all so much. So we're gonna get all of that energy back and ready for our next artist. Again, all the way up to the stage. We're gonna welcome Avery. Bow, 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 bow.
Anybody here from Florida? Anybody? Right. This is why I don't. Right. Yes. I'm from Florida. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I'm from Duval County. So this is relevant because one of my poems. How much time do we have to?
2 hours.
Yeah, we're doing good.
Hey, you got time.
Okay, I will say this. I have to teach 2 classes tomorrow, and I will probably have office hours for 2 hours after that. So I'm going to try to make it fast. But back to Florida. One of my poems, just going to run through them really fast. So I'll give you the intros now. One of my poems is about something that's very sensitive for me, and it's this is the first time that I'm getting to talk to anybody about this, especially poetically, artistically. So bear with me on this. Jordan Davis was killed. Thank you. He was killed at a gas station in my neighborhood. This was a neighborhood where my family Blockbuster was. This is where I finished my first 3-mile road race with my dad. And I didn't even know that it happened there because I didn't believe that those types of things could actually happen on my side of the city, in the suburbs. So that is going to be my first poem, or maybe my second, or my third, we'll see. Then I have another poem for you about a girl that I knew in elementary school, but also about me. All the poems are about me. I'm an artist, I'm narcissistic. And then the last one is a response to a poem by Lucille Clifton. Do we know Lucille Clifton? Snaps for Lucille Clifton? Okay. So like I said, I'll roll right through. I think I'll start with, I think this one's an exciting one. So let's see. We'll start with the first one, Aquanisha Laughed. This is called Aquanisha Laughed. Aquanisha laughed from her gut 12 times last year. 5 times she cried all out of her tears, which means something when we account for her annual averages, control for other data on her W-2, compare outcomes for others in her zip code. We could say Aquanisha, her name. She laughed 84 belly booty rattlers, bawled 35 times in 7 years, and be lucky to say, to substantiate that she is in fact alive. Without knowing the standard deviations, how happy, how much, and of what kind, how far from Moncrief the assimilation required, and of what kind. There is no controlling for outliers, like Aquanisha, is she living at all or doing more than surviving? Should she boo-hoo cry once out of every 5 weepings, will it be a reciprocal function of the way her mother grieved another child, gone, asymptotal, approaching eternity, unsolvable? If her 5-digit determinant decided no limit, parabolic pleading black arms in surrender, a white void and red lines on a grid, meaning, should we assume those antiquarian engineers, plotters of black and white outcomes, if this is all we know of her generational wealth, we can mathematically assume the worst. Long, long dead. But if Aquanisha counts on her weepings and the ne'er-do-wellings of plotters, raises her laughter to ever-increasing power above them, we can know with statistical certainty she is broke, broken up, broke off, exponentially free.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the one. This is the hard one. I originally wrote this actually for the first "What Kind of Brown Are You" show. So here we go. This is called "Quick Brown Fox." I ate myself alive in a suburb while, for the last time, the sun set over Jordan. We knew we could die on Bay Meadows Road, bloodlines, read and mapped off bodies, do keep tallies like red, white, red, like the gate logo off Southside Boulevard, where Tevin said, okay, but Jordan said, no, I will not be eating myself alive. Someday you would have us believe, so eaten up that we cease to have mass take up space. So there was bass in the air that day, and Jordan found he would write it. Once I chose to believe we could not die on Bay Meadows Road, or hear the Negro translingual ghost spiritual carried beyond Mafa, the blues, the deep black dark blues splashing down toward home, surrendered to the air, running braided byways north and writing it. When I could get my running legs out my mouth, I was rolling an Arcus cloud, choosing form. Story spider? Trickster? Conductor? Always a pilot taking off from the south side. Today, I feel quick brown fox, story keeper, torch singer, bass bringer in burrows, always quick and brown, like juniper, the gin of this feeble body, like twilight, which makes blackness dangerous and airborne. Okay. Last poem. This is called Won't You Break Your Heart With Me? Won't you break your heart with me? A cold, calculated softening. Your heart, this heart. What we shape into breakable offerings. The designer is a blood-stained ghoul, a crossed-over specter raised near the sea. A poet-prophet redeeming El Dorado. In this spectral city-state, my hands join yours in prayer. Let us now bow our heads for the continual breaking and celebrate that every day something has ravaged us and we prevailed in our joint remaking. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the tenderness and for trusting us to hold that alongside of you. I think your poetry is, it feels very intimate. And so it feels like a privilege when we get to hear you share these words. And I'm going to turn over to our sacred observers, 3 folks. What words, what emotions, what came up for you? Yes. Oof, bravery. Tears. One more. Inspired. Ooh. What I love about poetry and art is that it is often a bridge to new perspectives, and so we can understand and feel and like crack someone open and like reach in and have these experiences. So thank you for sharing those words again, because creating this sort of like wow, this word cloud of energy that should surround each of our artists. So thank you again for your work. Yeah, love it. Yes. All right, we are going to bring our next phenomenal human being up who's going to give you a treat. So excited for it. Please welcome up Jasmine. Blah, 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 blah.
We're blood. Connected. We are blood. What is dissolving but another way of becoming? We. As in quiet as kitchen gossip. We're blood like cosmos coming together. Halfway hometown Hawthorne pricked, we're blood. thick as what's left an unsaid bloodline. Unknowing, mourning, self-read, self-less, a goddess theft. Quiet like applying lipstick, blotting red from the teeth, smeared to oblivion like who we were before ancestors' mark, before colossal colonial hangover and mestizas curse. To diaspora, an act, a show, a game with no found rules to disappear, to diaspora, to disappear, to diaspora, to disappear. Yeah. We are bloodline, linked and dissipated, left behind and left turned. What is left on the sheets after birth? What is left on the crust of mouth at kiss, at tear duct in grief, the slow separation, self-Pangea, the drip of time, the absolute unravel, leaving no memory of who we were before. The thin feminine line, the one that ties us together, knowing we share this glow, bulb, opening sky that is joy alive. Our lineage as red as borealis, as heartbeat under chest, ancestors' mark. Costume and decor, performance to the world, a performance we teach child after child after child, to diaspora, to disappear, to diaspora, to disappear. Red as Venus apple, as the Song of Solomon, red as cardinal and marriage tree, what is left? Two parted lips leaving mark red. Bloodline, a tripwire of mothers to daughters. Bloodline, a letter is penitence. We are blood, kinship, a wish laden in sacrifice and rose hip. It is what we pass on. It is what passes through us, kinship. Wish laden, quiet, like women sitting on kitchen floors, sharing stories after dark. Wish-laden, made up and make-up and performed under the reddest of limelight. Symptoms of foremothers and long nails and long lashes and long lineage linked and dissipated. Quiet. Contained growling wolves of family secrets. We are blood linked in lineage, losing growl at teeth as rose water and red berry markings, wild in diaspora. Contained in Bruham motherhood, passed down and grown. Wolves turned limp and shed clean, now upright and human. Costumed, linked, dissipated, disappeared. We're blood, lined, linked, and dissipated, connected at the lip line. A marked kiss of future ancestors becoming. Linking is just becoming. Knowing I am part of you.
Jasmine's work continually inspires me, and what I love is that so many of our artists, right, we have the art here, and then we have the art that is the existence and the performance, and there is something about the way that Jasmine uses poetry that I am just like, yes, this is my holy book. I shall just do all the things. I am blood, we are blood, the linking. Yeah, it was a beautiful, and I think raw experience, and that's what this is right? The authenticity of how we show up. So Jasmine is around the corner, but thank you, Jasmine. 3 people, what did you feel? Yes, right here. Inspiring, yes. Divine, yes. Truthful, I saw your hand, do it. I was going to say legions. Ooh, legions. Let's break the mold. Do other people have words? Confidence, sanguine. Oh, that's amazing. Also, I love a mind meld. That's like my favorite thing to do. But this, like, staying connected and connection, why that is like so cool is because we have to be in space together for art, right? Because something happened, just as Jasmine said, we are linked, we are blood, we are together, you and me, and that's just what happened here, is right? Like when we get to talk about art, we also get to be connected in that way. So that was so cool, great. All right, so we have come to the final performance, and I'm so excited for this person to close out because they created this, and this is like his work. So I'm so excited that we'll close out this performance with Kevin! Ba, 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 ba. Woo, 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 woo.
Hello. Okay. Bees. Hi. I didn't choose to go last. They just kind of put me last. So that's cool. That's good. Jasmine's amazing. Everybody's amazing. Everyone's really good.
Kevin's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, I mean, I am. Thank you. Jesus Christ. Motherfucking unicorn. Anyway. Do you guys see this work? Do you guys see everything up here? Do you? Have you seen it, though? I mean, god damn. When we talk about community, it's pretty... I'm gonna preach. I'm gonna fucking preach. All right, I'll do my poems. I just do my poems. Bees, this one's for you. Okay? All right. Okay. It ain't the inches, it's the miles I walk on, soft soles and tread so harshly. The juvenile employed, a lost boy with cold hard cash, sucking away his life essence. With skin like dirt, it is the second chance that hurts, like bricks atop fallen pride. My castle is not made of sand, it is a glass cage. And I'm always drowning. But I'm drowning in my self-loathing instead of appreciation of caress I could give to you. Yes, I am a mess, but it's my insecurities that tell me I am best. A man too real for himself, too full of ideals he wants to put to rest. And I'm building shelves to put things away I want to hide. And I swear the human condition is too wild a ride. But I don't know whose pride I'm trying to work with. Is it mine, yours, or the people you care too much about? Yo. Why must you be in love with the world, so enchanted, those eyes, so full of nothing to hide, so sick of the same old shit, you just want to quit, move on, start anew? I'm sorry I'm so hard to work with. It's the curves that bring me back. It's the smile that you lack when I'm around. Thank you. It's been a while. It's been a while. I forgot a little thing in there. I did forget the clown nose. I brought that. Where's Daniel? Clown nose. See? Told you. Okay. I got 3. I got 2 more. Okay. This one's called Wake. You always come to me at night when a new one bats her lashes. Your thick-rimmed gaze is there to remind me there's glass between us. The first time I claimed lucidity in affection to your closeness, we waited in line and rode a roller coaster. Nay, it was one of those couples-only seating boat journey disguised as a ride where the lights flashed and you weren't sure what you were looking at, intoxicated bumper cars. Then came the drop and splash, We walked out together with little remorse and bombed out on forgiveness, drunk off knowing a completeness and closure. The second time was a more formal acquaintance until the lights went out and everyone was in bed to drift off into their superficial happiness. Then things got feral. The doors were closed but one, and you leaned in to whisper tingles of the neck, knowing the door was open behind me. I walked to the kitchen to find someone in the other room. She was leaned up against the stove, and I asked, what was the bother? Without a change in face or lack of pace, she uttered, nothing. And that's how the ethereal grasp untangled me with redundancy. So this haunted house did... Haunted house. So this haunted house did suffer of ghouls with girly glow, songs of sirens that only appeared in echo in dreams as nightmare cliffs notes. Dangling from the noose on a branch on a tree with no dirt on the roots, all that's left is a few ghosts in this shell, and I don't know whose soul hurts the most. There's unborn baby screams as war cry for the army of demons that pass through my land, and I wonder if you can hear them too when thoughts of me cross your path. Now the great nothing is a funnel. Wind tunnels of freedom, lacking a leash that seldom needs walks, just hold hands and drift off. The kaleidoscope mind's eye minds with hope and doesn't stutter. And each smile a rudder while lost at sea, lighthouses as windmills just to greet me. And what these giants lack is the tune of your hum to make inadequacies numb. The pale gray fog that should remain stays like white noise, dumb. If only I could change the channel, but I'm too scared I'll miss something. Wake to bury these feelings, but celebrate these possessions. So, this is the last one. This is the last one. This is the one I wrote for this. Okay. You know where we come from? We come from our mother's insecurities of her place in time and dash hopes to do something more than just pay bills. Sidestepping crackpots with loose change. Heavy like the silence of discontent, discomfort, I stare at the image given to me in reflection. Despots to whisper Anglo ideas, taken as curse, lackluster superstition creates webs in our superposition, strands only seen in the dew from morning slumber and yet steady hitting the snooze button. I hate every instance of my existence. Unless it's filled with kisses, then I weep because it's not the intricate, elaborate play blocked out in inches. So I clench my fist and start a list to burn a missive, toiled in hunger, walking on time, cures my hoof rot. Sometimes I hate being a broad-shouldered brown man. I could just be sitting and listening with soft eyes. I'm not blind. I see you calling me intense, missing the forest for the trees. I'm sleeping intense. Let's not be bent, piping back and forth. The gas is lit. You got me feeling guilty for nothing. Lights casting the shadows, telling stories of shame, tripping over your branches in the forest. These fault lines is a game. And I see you. That was my phone. And I see you. Knowing that I know is just a ghost in your house. Attic-dwelling troglodyte of a mismatched narrative, like just call me Frankenstein, like Jesus. I'm a father figure. Thank you. Attic-dwelling troglodyte as a... I love you. I love you. Thank you. Okay. Attic-dwelling troglodyte of a mismatched narrative, like just call me Frankenstein. I'm a father figure entwined in so much of these webs, sleeping in a coffin where I feel safe and trust. February lust is a must. Wind in your sails, gust or bust. Blood-sucking soul chaser till I turn to dust. Siren! Do you hear that? I've got a 4-letter word that would fuck you up. Pride is the side effect of generational hurt that won't let my father apologize for the painful things he put me through. Narcissism is what makes him think his hurt is more than mine, so I don't deserve an apology, though. This is my favorite line. Privilege is buyers who got buyers unaware of how disrespectful he could be in all ways, but not always, because he's a nice guy. That one's just for me, by the way. Negligence is doing it for the culture, but just placating stereotypes. Sadness is knowing we're all lonely and full of poison, but most of us aren't going to do anything to better ourselves. Anger is knowing you don't fucking want to. You want to know where I come from? I come from the heart. I go for the throat. And that frog won't last long in its pot. It's not about making you feel bad. It's letting you know what you can't see. Merit through authenticity. I love you so much and can tell you you're done surviving. But I've run out of sleeves, and you don't like it when I'm shirtless. Now I'm naked standing in front of you, begging you to tell me what else I should do. Get some fucking self-respect. No one else can do what I do. I survived the curses, hard talks with nurses, shielding you from what makes you nervous. It's always versus me and me. And you don't deserve this. You got my shirt, my skin, my hair, my pock marks and scars just to give you warmth. But I'm a cannibal too. And I'm used to starving. The pot is getting hot. You want to know where I come from? I come from the heart. And you're forgetting yourself because you still can't hear me. Thank you.
What I love is that, Kevin, your voice is like so, it's like, But then you're talking about like really intense stuff, and I'm like, oh, right, don't get lulled into false insecurity. We're talking about big things and generational curses and privilege, and but there's a way that you deliver it that just like brings people in closer and closer to get that message. So thank you so much, and thank you for co-creating this space and allowing all of these artists to show up authentically and be themselves and create art. Like that's what we're built for, right? It's to create art. Sacred observers, what did you feel? What words came to mind?
You can't hear me.
You can't hear me. Yes. Cunning, yes. One more. Compassionate, yes. Thank you so much. We're going to do like a quick boop, 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 boop to remind us of all the humans we said we've heard from, and we're going to cheer really loud. So, first was me. Yeah. Thank you. Also, if you want to buy my book sort of shadily, I'll be out at a table. Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, Zelle, whatever. I'll take all your money. All right, next up we had Sofia. Woo! Then we had Avery. Woo! And then Jasmine in the back. Woo! everyone. Woo! Thank you all so much for being here, for folks who were here for the panel discussion and for this. What Kind of Brown Are You is an incredible exhibition that is going to continue in Colorado Springs. And so thank you for giving work and support to 13 BIPOC artists to do their thing, and continue to look out for this work. Continue to come back, explore, buy one of the pieces on October 5th, excuse me, for the closing. CC Mobile Arts will be collaborating with What Kind of Brown Are You to do like mini portraits and art activities, so please come back and engage. Book these artists, book them on a Tuesday, book them for no reason. Pay them more than they are worth, because as a BIPOC artist, we undervalue ourselves. So if you have power, privilege, money, real estate, I don't know, give it to these BIPOC artists. Hey, y'all, that's the way to wealth. That's the way to wealth. So please engage. And a reminder that dismantling white supremacy can be as small as resting, as supporting these artists, as doing something different, as taking action against a system that is constantly working, and all of you have the power to do that, and our permission slips for other people to do the same. I'm so grateful as Poetry719. We do stuff to be here. And a quick plug, Poetry719 has been operating for 7 years. We have our 7th annual poetry festival coming up in October. It's a full month of events. Some of the folks in this show are involved in those events. And there's an event here at UCCS, our Disability Awareness Open Mic on the 25th, as October is Disability Awareness Month. So please check out Poetry719 on Instagram, on Facebook, check out our new events, and most importantly, continue to support and honor our BIPOC artists here in our community. Thank you so much for being here, and the invitation is always open to dismantle white supremacy, support Black and brown artists, and continue the work to be revolutionary when this is every single day. Thank you all so much, and good night. Yeah!